everyone! So it is now time to tour my back deck garden and see how my plants are looking for early August. I still can't believe there's just a few more months left of having a garden out here, but that is life living in Chicago Zone 6A. So this back deck has the morning sun exposure, so it's a little bit less harsh than the front deck. This deck is also 18 by 19 square feet, 3 stories up. It does have the air conditioning units on it, so that does take up some space. So technically it's slightly smaller than my front garden, but the most important thing is that this did not exist last year. I mean, the deck did, but I only had a few kind of overflow plants here from the front deck. This is the first year I transformed it into a garden, and I cannot describe how happy it makes me. It is also the garden where I spend the most of my time because it has the more relaxing furniture out here. It's also the garden with my favorite view because I can see the beautiful church just a couple streets away, which you'll see in just a second. So let me go show you how my garden is looking early August. So first thing on the back deck is I moved this chair. So this chair here was over there, and I basically moved it so I could sit there and have this view instead of staring at the house, even though the plants next to the house are pretty too. But at first it felt kind of off because this is slightly in the way of the door, but I think I do like this decision now. So let's go ahead and start on this side over here. So first in front I have my Truffula Pink Gomphrena. I basically had 6 left over, and I had 6 empty terracotta pots, so it seemed like that would make sense. Some of these are larger and some are smaller because it seems like whenever we have heavy rain and storms, these are the plants that end up with broken branches, but that's okay because then I can just take them inside and dry them. Over here I have the Michaela Miranda dahlia. So all of the dahlias on the back deck are ones that I overwintered last year in the garage. And again, all of them, whether I overwintered them or started them fresh, have been stunted, but there is a bud opening there. I think I've had 1 flower on this one so far, and they are pretty. I mean, they're like purple, white, a little bit of yellow, so I do like them. I just wish I'd gotten to see a little bit more of them earlier. Then I have my lemon tree, which is doing great after dealing with scale. There is still some on there that I just go in and scrape off when I see it, but you can see here I have 1, 2, 3 lemons, little tiny ones opening up there, but it doesn't always hold on to all the tiny lemons that it starts to form. But this is looking much happier now that I've been able to better control the scale. Following along over here, I have my 2 columnar apple trees. So these, on the left is Scarlet Sentinel, on the right is White Icicle. They look the exact same to me. I assume they will for a while. These will be, assuming I don't kill them over winter, potted up into larger pots, but for now, this container size, which is probably about 10 inches, works really well. Then I have my Wowza dwarf cherry tree, which has done okay. It does look like there's some issues on it, like some yellowing of the leaves. There's something munching on the leaves too, but that's usually to be expected in the garden. But this is one where I lost one because I moved it out too quickly after getting it and we got a cold snap. So I now currently have 1 dwarf cherry tree. So if this one survives over winter, I will have to get a second one. Then I have the dahlia that probably looks the worst compared to all of the other dahlias. This one is the shortest. It has the most yellowing on the leaves. It has produced 1 flower. It's Thomas A. Edison, so it's a deep purple, really pretty, but this one just has not done that well this year. Like I said, they've all been stunted, but this one is usually, geez, I don't know, at least twice the size that it is right now. Again, it hasn't died, but it also isn't doing great, but I got 1 flower, so I guess that's all I can ask for. Heading back here, my tumbler composter is on the left. Then in this raised bed, I have a Petunia Vista Jazzberry in each of the corners. And I have the tricolor sweet potato vine, which I absolutely love, in the middle. I have had to trim that multiple times as it starts to hit the deck, but those have done really well growing together. Then in the center, I have things that I started from seed. There were 2 status plants in the corner. Kind of see little remnants of one there, but those have been taken over. I did get a harvest from them at least. But the zinnias here are the Giant Benary wine variety. I really loved them last year in the mix, so I got individual seeds this year. But I'd say the star of the show in this bed is the Bonita Shell Pink Asters. I have harvested so many and they're just at their peak right now. I mean, look at that. Look at all of those blooms. So I think that's just 2 plants, or are there 3? I did initially plant 3. It looks like there's 3 separate ones, but for some reason, the plants don't always grow straight up. So like the zinnias planted behind, oh, there's the 3rd aster plant. The zinnias planted behind the asters, but it's just coming up right in front for some of them. So 1, 2 asters over there, and then that is the 3rd one. Then this dahlia here is the height that I'm used to. This is the Otto's Thrill dahlia. It has put out some blooms, and you can see there are more opening there right now. Those are really pretty. I'm glad they're the full height. They don't look, again, as healthy as they did last year, and they took much longer to bloom, but at least they look good right now. Coming into the center raised bed, Petunia Vista Fuchsia on the corners. Same tricolor sweet potato vine in the center. And then here, I did the Cupcake Blush Cosmo. There's a lot of buds that are opening up. This one is fully open and looking beautiful. Been harvesting so much from these raised beds for bouquets. There's some more of the Cosmos. Again, some growing sideways, some growing front ways. It's hard to control Mother Nature. But then these asters I also love. This is Lady Coral Lavender, and someone said that sounds like a royalty name. So now if I was ever, to be a royal, I would like to be Lady Coral Lavender. But look how pretty they are. They're a very, very light lavender color, 100% growing both of these asters that I have next year. Now, in front of those raised beds, I just love this container on the left and how it turned out. I feel like of all the containers, this one's had the most like playfulness. All of the flowers are kind of intertwining with each other. It just looks really happy. It's looked pretty healthy this whole season, so that's been great. But I have the Petunia Mini Vista Sweet Sangria. That's actually the same petunia in all of these, and that pot at the end is the exact same as the pot I'm showing you right now. Then I have 2 Superbenas. I have Superbena Pink Cashmere, which is the one with light pink flowers. I have the the Superbena Sparkling Rosé. The hummingbird moths really love the Superbena. And then I have a Romance Nemesia Pink. And again, I don't know if it's where I planted them or morning versus evening sun, but the Nemesia are still doing great up here where it gets like morning, early afternoon sun, versus the other deck, my front deck, which faces west, which gets more intense afternoon sun. But I just love how this container came together. And if I can get my hands on all of these plants next year, I will put the exact same combination together. Now, both of these pots are planted again with the same Petunia Mini Vista Sweet Sangria, and then there are zinnias in them. The one on the left is the Queen Lime Blush zinnia. So the petals are a lime green yellowish color, and then there's blush in the center, and the blush gets more, here we go, more intense as the zinnias age. So those are really pretty. I've fallen in love. I think everybody loves the Queen Lime series. I'm just, late to the party, but I absolutely love the 2 varieties that I have. So that's Queen Lime with blush. This is Queen Lime Red, and it's like a very kind of dusty red color. So I absolutely love these. It looks kind of vintage. I don't know if that's a weird way to describe a flower color, but that's what these look like to me. And I'm actually growing these again next year, and also 2 additional varieties that I just ordered seeds for. Then this pot here is the exact same as that first one, and then this bed is the exact same as the one on the furthest left. We'll go over there in just a second because I somehow think the asters over there are even more full and glorious. But here's 3 more of the Otto's Thrill flowers starting to open up. All right, before we head to the other side, this is my beach plum tree, which I believe I will need to get a second one of, even though I was told it was self-pollinating. That has proven to be incorrect. So I think it'd be nice to have one like there and one on the other side of the couch, assuming I have room for it. And this pot has the wave petunia, which is silver. This is where the begonias that I transplanted up front were. This one clearly took over this pot. I also had the double smitten pink super bells which they're still doing their best to show through there, but I mean, the silver wave petunia is definitely the most vigorous in that bunch. So note to self to probably plant it on its own in a pot that, let's see, what are these, maybe like 10 to 12 inches in diameter. So that's one plant of the petunia in that pot. More of the truffula pink Gomphrena. And then this, I've been very pleasantly surprised. This is the Rock and Grow Midnight Velvet Sedum. It is a perennial, so hoping again I can keep it alive over winter. It was so small when I first planted it, but I love it. I love the deep purple of the leaves and the flowers when they first off. I love how it gets greener, more red in the older flowers. I'm just really excited about this plant. I water it maybe once a week. Really easy to take care of. Absolutely love it, especially in the white pot too. I think that's a good contrast. So plan to hopefully keep this alive and keep it over winter. At some point I'd probably want to pot it up if I can, although maybe this pot would do well at least for another year or two. Another Gomphrena, you can see where the storm broke off a pretty large branch, and then I had the same pot combination where again the silver wave petunia just completely took over. Coming around the back of the chair, I have this rose plant, which is the Flavorette Honey Apricot. It just started blooming again, so I've had kind of one round of blooms. This is the second round. That's stabbing myself. Here is the first bloom that opened this round. It smells delicious. It tastes like, you can definitely taste a hint of the sweetness in the rose, so it is one that has good flavor too. Also, it's done pretty well against black spot or any kind of fungal infections. I did treat it once with a spray, and it's been pretty good since then, despite all of the rain we've been getting lately. But there is one of the flowers just starting to open up there. I'm really hoping I can keep this alive because I was going to completely give up on roses because I've killed too many over winter. I'm really hoping that this one can make it because it's probably the prettiest one I've grown. Now, to the left of this rose, along the wall that's actually part of the house, oh, and there's my Hoya carrii right inside there. So this is one pot that I put too many things in, but that is the story of my garden. But down here is the Super Bells Double Amber, which I really love this color. So kind of like yellow with slight orange tint to it. Again, kind of has a vintagey feel. I definitely want to grow this exact color again next year if I can get my hands on it. Then I have a Lavender Dreams cleome right there, which has just been blooming its head off the entire season. Then I have a zinnia with powdery mildew, as one does, and this is one that I got from a friend, and I can't remember where she got the seeds or what the name was, but it's this really, really pretty pale, kind of pinky peach color. She also, same friend, gave me Feverfew, which I did not know was a perennial. I've never grown it before, so I'm excited to hopefully overwinter this. But I mean, look at that. That's one, wait, I was gonna say it's one plant. I think that's a lie. It's one pot, but I feel like I planted 3 or 4? 1, 2, 3. 3 separate plants in there to get it this full. I've been using these in like drinks to just have pretty flowers. I probably need to harvest some up there because there's some that are starting to look a little bit sad, but I absolutely love this. It's cute to add some to little bouquets. So this is one that I want to constantly have in the garden. I think I still have the seeds if I want to start some more, but again, the plan is to keep this alive over winter. Then over here is the Bright Lights Horizon Sunrise Osteosperma, which I cut back. Same thing with one of the petunias out front. I had this in a front pot. It was not getting enough sun, very leggy, so I cut it back to see how it would do. It didn't bloom back immediately like the petunia, but maybe I'd say it's been about 3 weeks, and you can see the flower buds on there. So I think we are going to get some flowers on this, and it looks so much happier now in its own space. Then over here we have the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. I love this and the Feverfew right next to each other because they're similar but also still different. This corner I tried to have more like peachy white flowers. Of course I have the Lavender Cleome because I can never 100% stick to my plan, but I love how it looks. And then behind it I have 2 of the plastic window boxes with King Apricot Asters that I ran out of room for that I love. They're not in full bloom right now, but I've again harvested so many off of these They'd be so much larger and have so many more blooms if I put them in a pot with adequate space, but they've still bloomed and done well, so I can't be too upset about that. And then if I back up, you'll see the morning glory in all of its glory. So there are just 2 plants here, 1 in each. I zip tied 2 trellises together to get them as tall as they are, and they're just taking over, and I absolutely love the wildness of it. Now, I haven't had any flowers yet, so I had issues with this last year. I could still be a little bit early, but someone said if they get the morning sun, they're more likely to bloom. These get the morning sun, and they haven't had any blooms yet. So let me know if I'm just being impatient or if there's anything else I should do. I don't really fertilize much. If they get any fertilizer, it is a bloom boosting one, but I'm not fertilizing them weekly like my other annual flowers, so I don't know. But even if they never flowered, I still love how these look and take over. Now, morning glory are invasive, so I would not personally recommend growing them in the ground, but because I have containers and there's no soil, so it's not like the seeds will fall off into the ground, I keep these contained. So I grew them last year. I didn't find any seeds that came back the year after. Next is my wee bit grumpy hydrangea. I wasn't sure if this was going to bloom this year because it was so small when I got it. It hasn't bloomed. I don't think I see any buds, so I don't think I'll get any flowers. However, it looks healthy and happy. So my attempt, again, to overwinter this so it'll come back and flower next year is what I'm going to try to do. Then I have a peppermint patty Hydrangea. First time ever growing this, absolutely love it. The leaves are so cool. It did flower early in spring. I think it had flowers on it when I actually got it, but even without flowers, I love it. I love the size of the leaves, the texture and interest that it adds to my garden. Also a perennial, so again, going to try not to kill it. I think this one was either zone 4. Yeah, I don't think it was a 3. I think it was a zone 4. So maybe overwintering in the garage will do best. I don't know. We'll kind of see as it goes along. Then I have my shade border, which I'm really happy about, even if it doesn't get, I mean, it's in the shade now, but that's only because the sun is on the other side. It gets more sun than I planned, but look how good it looks. So I have here 3 hydrangeas. You'll see the difference in them, even though they're all the same, but tiny quick fire. 1, 2, 3. Right down there, and then all the boxes in between, which I got for free from someone, also have the same mix of plants. So I started from bulbs, the Vava Violet Caladium. Oh, what is the name of this white one? I think I have the tag down at the end, so I'll look at that in just a second. But I have 2 different caladium, and then because it wasn't looking full enough at the beginning, I added in some of the pink polka dot plant. I love how it all looks together. This, even though there's no flowers, the amount of color makes me really happy. So again, that's the same as all of these containers. So these 2 hydrangeas did not flower, and this one did and has barely any leaves. I did reach out to try to see if there was any reason, and the only reason that the grower really said that could happen is that they were in completely different growing environments, which they're not. I mean, they're on the same side of the deck, just a few feet apart. Now, what did happen to this one was the drainage wasn't working, so there was a lot of water sitting on it. It got kind of waterlogged. I did bring it inside. You can see now I don't even have it hooked up to the drip. It's kind of over here because I like to control that separately. So I don't know if that somehow put some stress on it to not grow leaves and instead grow flowers. But I'm hoping this one does okay because there's really not many leaves on it at all. I don't know. We'll see how it does. These will definitely, I think, be overwintered in the garage. They're in plastic pots, so easy to carry down. So that will be the plan for those. Now let's see if I can find, here we go. Please be the right one. Yay, Heart to Heart White Star. So that is the white caladium. And while we're here, might as well do a little weeding. In this corner, I have the Tough Stuff Aha Hydrangea. I really love this. It's a mountain hydrangea. I could probably stand to do some deadheading on some of those blooms because what they originally looked like was this one here. I have not acidified the soil at all, so I'm assuming they did that when it was at the grower or the nursery. Those are the colors the blooms have been coming in. So yeah, probably need to clean up these a little bit, although I don't mind how they look here right now. But yeah, I should probably put that on my to-do list. But overall, plant still looks really healthy. So again, fingers crossed it stays alive over winter. Now this bed right next to it is the exact same planting as the furthest one, down there right by the composter. And like I said, I think the asters here might even be more abundant than down there. I think these are two plants that happen to be growing right next to each other, but look at that. These are so pretty. Again, these are the Bonita Shell pink asters. I got the seeds from Johnny's Seed. Started them in mid-March, and they were blooming by like early to mid-July. And then there's more of the giant Benary wine zinnias. Of course, they also have powdery mildew, but it hasn't killed them yet. So that's really all I can ask for. And then this is probably one of my favorite views. I try not to harvest all the flowers at once, so I still have some color out here. But it's just such a full wall. My goal was to get the brick wall covered, and I'm pretty sure by the end of August I will have achieved that goal. Last thing along this back wall are my 3 mismatched containers, because I just grabbed whatever containers were the cheapest. I actually think I like the one on the furthest left the most, just because the color blends in with the cement on the top of the wall. But these all have Petunia Vista bubblegum. Can you tell which ones had issues with budworms and which ones didn't? If you guessed that the one on the right did not, you would be correct. That's why that one looks so much better than the other two. I have found a couple budworms in each of these. Again, not enough where it took out the entire crop of flowers. So I do think my weekly spray of the BT has been working, but it apparently hasn't prevented it completely from happening. But I really love how these look. I like the added height to my garden. My neighbors over here don't really use their patio, but it does give just a slight more bit of privacy. And I haven't had any issues, obviously, with the containers falling off, because that is something I was worried about, but they are heavy enough. Now, if we were going to get, 80-mile-per-hour winds, I would probably take them down. That hasn't happened, but through our regular thunderstorms, these have stayed up and been absolutely fine. So this is probably my favorite view in the garden, though, with the church in the background, this wall of flowers. This is where I am most evenings, on this couch right here. And I cannot tell you the level of joy that this garden brings me. So that is the back deck garden tour for August. I will link down both the front deck garden tour for this month as well as the playlist for previous month's tours if you are interested in seeing the difference in 1 month that can happen in the garden, which is a lot can happen in 1 month. But other than that, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.